Do you want to create a high-performance team that smashes goals and gets the job done? Well, by the end of this video, you'll have my proven 4-tip formula to build what Google calls the #1 team and workplace success dynamic, psychological safety. If you want to level up your leadership skills, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post a weekly video. We've worked with thousands of leaders from startup to Fortune 500 on this tactic and witnessed them build employee engagement, increase retention, and create a high-performance culture. So now it's your turn to learn how to incorporate this psychological safety secret sauce to turn your team into a high-performance machine. First, let's talk about why culture matters. Group cultures are extremely powerful. In fact, a Harvard study of over 200 companies shows that strong culture increases net income 765% over 10 years. Cultures are not predestined. They are a set of living relationships oriented towards a common goal. Group culture has more to do with what teams do than what they are, and that's why we like to say culture is simply how we do things around here. So have you heard of Google's Project Aristotle? It's fascinating. So Google's people analytics team was interested in understanding what makes a great team. So for 3 years, they had everyone from psychologists to sociologists to engineers study 180 internal teams to better understand what separates good from great teams. And after all of this research, they found that great teams had one trait in common. There was a sense of psychological safety on the team. And no, I'm not talking about coddling, hand-holding, or an excuse to hide from difficult conversations or challenges on the job. Here, people took turns talking. They felt listened to by their team and their manager. They were able to talk without being talked over or dismissed, stuff like that. So in a nutshell, I like to define psychological safety as allowing for moderate risk-taking, speaking your mind, creativity, and sticking your neck out, all without fear of having it cut off. So this sounds like a great place to work in. So how do you build psychological safety and start smashing goals with your team? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the 4 tips of building psychological safety in the workplace. Without further ado, tip number 1, use belonging cues. There's something magical that happens when people feel like they belong on a team. So how do you create that sense of belonging? Well, first, it's something as simple as using people's names when you're talking to them. It just reaffirms their importance. People love to hear their name aloud. Second, eye contact, eye contact, eye contact. If in person, this means putting your phone down. I know for us millennials, that's hard. Looking people in the eye and having a good old-fashioned conversation. Even having your phone visible on the table during a conversation demonstrates a sense of what I call conditional listening, meaning that the phone is there just in case something more interesting pops up. It's a little escape. This is a bad habit we're all guilty of, and the best thing we can do is to turn the phone off, put it away during a conversation. Get obsessed with that person. And if you're online, look into the video camera and speak to their eyes. Third, to make someone feel like they belong, listen to understand and not to respond. This is super interesting. There are 2 different types of responses, switch and supportive. A switch response occurs when we respond to someone and switch the emphasis to ourselves. A supportive response is when we keep the emphasis on a person who we're talking with. Let me give you an example. If someone said to you, hey, I was finally able to try out that taco shop you recommended. A switch response would be, oh, I love that taco shop. Their nachos are the best. Whereas a supportive response would be, how did you like it? What did you order? Tell me about your experience. See, a supportive response makes people feel a sense that you are genuinely interested in them, which is a lost art nowadays. Fourth, all of the belonging building behaviors above increase oxytocin, which is the feel-good cuddle hormone. When you can make people feel good, listened to, and recognized, that is a secret sauce for psychological safety. Tip number 2, model vulnerability. As a leader, you have to demonstrate vulnerability. It's the gateway to psychological safety. And when people know that they can let their hair down and reveal their areas of weakness, then they can be themselves at work. And having to hide your weakness and fear of judgment from a leader zaps all the energy out of a team. So here's a question for you to think about. Why do you think I screwed up is the most powerful thing a leader can say? I'll give you a second to think about that. Okay, second's up. Here's my answer. It humanizes a leader and it shows people that it is safe to learn and fail forward. One great way to create an environment where people can get vulnerable is to practice what the Army calls an after-action review. This is a military meeting approach. Navy SEALs do after-action reviews where each mission is discussed in excruciating detail to share vulnerability and model future behavior. This creates a cadence of connection and vulnerability where people can let their hair down and talk about what went well and what needs work. So let's take this to your neck of the woods. Next time you finish a project with your team, I challenge you to set aside just 30 to 45 minutes to do an after-action review of the project. At the end of this video, I'll give you some questions that you can ask to perform a successful after-action review and build psychological safety on your team. Tip number 3, welcome creative contribution. So when I was getting my master's degree, I had a week-long intensive team building class where we were tasked with what's called divergent thinking. Prior to the class, I had no idea what that was until the professor had us clear out our tables and chairs and gather in a circle. He held up a broom pole and said, "What is this?" One student said, "Well, duh, it's a broom pole." So there was laughter in the room. Then the professor said, "What else could it be?" Then with a clang, he dropped it on the floor, inviting each of us to creatively decipher what that thing was, because it wasn't a broom pole anymore. All of a sudden, the room lit up with creativity and curiosity. What was once a broom pole became a lightsaber, a guitar, and many more fun ideas. Within the span of 5 minutes, the professor created a room where creative contribution was welcomed. We all felt safe to wield a lightsaber without judgment or criticism. It was an infectious environment where psychological safety was born and ideas and innovation was abound. So let me ask you this. As a leader, do you create enough margin for your team to think outside the box in a way similar to my story? Tip number 4, use process challenging language. If we disagree with someone in a meeting and communicate it in an unproductive way, that can be the death of psychological safety. Each of us takes pride in our ideas and contributions, and when someone challenges them, we put up our dukes in defense. So here's what is happening in the amygdala in the brain, which processes emotions, when we get challenged. When someone challenges us, our amygdala gets hijacked and we naturally sense a threat as if we're running from a bear. Our social self-defense kicks in and we either fight, flight, or freeze in place. None of this is helpful for psychological safety. Great leaders know how to challenge the process and not the person. They don't say things like, why do you think that would work? Instead, they are like a master Jedi with their language and their challenge the process language. When they see an opportunity to challenge someone's idea, they challenge the process instead. Here's what that sounds like. Someone might say, "Hey, let's unpack that idea. Tell me more." Can we play devil's advocate here for a minute? What other alternatives can we consider? Looking at this scenario, what have we not taken into account? Are there some assumptions we might be making that we could challenge for a second here? What are our current paradigms we need to be aware of when looking at this? What are the potential risks? Can I bring another idea into the mix? Here's another angle to consider. Let's put ourselves in their shoes. What could be missing here? See, this allows the listener to take things purposeful and not personal. So these 4 tips will provide you a great foundation to build a high performance team. Which tips are you going to try out first? If you want to start conducting an after action review with your team, that is a great way to build psychological safety. And as promised, here are the questions I suggest you ask. Note, all of these questions are challenging the process and not the people. Number 1, how was our planning? Was there too much or too little? Number 2, should we consider a redesign for next time? Number 3, how was our communication? Did everyone have the opportunity to provide input? Did communication flow effectively? Number 4, how effective was decision making? Were we confident or doubtful in our decision making? Number 5, was anyone frustrated with the process? Number 6, did we have a process for problem solving? Was everyone involved? Did that work well? Number 7, how was cooperation? Were we able to cooperate effectively? Number 8, how was motivation? Number 9, were we competent and effective at the task at hand? Were we prepared with the skills and resources to get the job done? Number 10, how was team chemistry? And number 11, was our character, applied, or compromised. See, the beauty of an after-action review is that each of these questions appeal to different personality types, so everyone's engaged, involved, and psychologically safe. So I hope these 4 tips will help you nurture and build a high-performance team. Psychological safety is a powerful performance multiplier for any team. Again, tell me in the comments, which tip are you going to try out first? Please subscribe and hit the bell so that you are notified every time we upload a video. Well, see you next time on the next video. Thanks, bye.